everyone, welcome back to another episode of our show, the Life School MasterClass SHOW. And as you guys know, I come to you every week with a new special guest, and we talk about anything life and business, anything that helps us scale ourselves to the next level. This week, I have the amazing honor to have another guest on. And I'm going to let her introduce herself to you guys. Her name is Dune. Dune, thank you so much for finding time to spend with me in our show today.
Thanks, Alona. I'm really happy to be here. My name is Dune. I am the founder of a company called Female Startup Club, and I like to say Female Startup Club is like your hype girl in business. We are a modern media company that empowers entrepreneurs and small business owners to build profitable e-commerce businesses so they can define and create their own economic success. So we have a podcast. It's all about entrepreneurship. We have a digital marketing agency off the back of that, and a private network for women who are building e-commerce businesses. And then through that journey, I also started developing my own non-alcoholic wine company, which is in progress.
Wow, you are definitely an ambitious entrepreneur, woman entrepreneur with so many hats and so many projects. I like to call them projects because it's just, it's business is that way. It's like a journey where you're constantly adapting and then, figuring out your market needs and really, creating the most value that you can. So I want to congratulate you for all of that already. And I'm just curious because women entrepreneurs watch our show. How did you get inspired to start? What made you start with the idea?
So I think I've always had that kind of hustle spirit. I grew up with a single mom. I was an only child. She raised me in the middle of nowhere in a very small town. I grew up with like 90 people living in the area, although it was a mountain, actually not a town. And so we didn't have a lot of money, and I had to watch her, hustle for survival, I guess you could say, for our life. So when I got older and I realized kind of what the possibilities were in terms of traveling the world, in terms of having a career that made you feel fulfilled, in terms of partnership with, friends and partners and all that kind of good stuff, I think I just always had a bit of that spirit in me. And then when I started working for a company in Australia called The Iconic, I got the taste for working basically for a fast-paced, really fun startup company. And it gave me the itch to start my own thing one day. And then when I moved to the UK, basically I met my now husband, and he was building a SaaS company at the time and asked me if I wanted to join him in building the creative arm of the business, which would essentially fund the development of the tech. And I said yes. I got started. I realized that specific agency tech model wasn't my vibe, and kind of iterated along the way, finding things that I did love. I moved into the e-commerce space. I built a jewelry brand, ultimately realized jewelry wasn't the product that I loved, but I really did love e-commerce and wanted to use my skill set in that area to continue. So I set about interviewing founders behind e-commerce businesses under the Female Startup Club umbrella, and that led to basically everything. And that's where we are today.
Wow, that's beautiful, and it goes to show it's like everything has led up to what you're doing today, and I'm sure this will continue as you carry on. But people that are starting their entrepreneur journeys, including myself a few years back, I was always listening to so many interviews and other founders and other entrepreneurs, trying to listen for, what are some, like, what does a journey look like? And I know it's very individual, but what has that journey looked like for you? What have some of the challenges been that you have to overcome so far that you'd like to share?
So I would say the journey has been, every entrepreneurial journey has its ups and downs. You have good days or good periods and bad periods. I've realized a lot of things that I didn't enjoy doing. And so I've consistently pivoted towards the things that I do enjoy doing. And so a really key example of that was when I was working on the SaaS platform with my now husband. I remember being on this panel at Tech Week, and I was sitting alongside some really incredible companies like Airtasker and a few other ones. And I just remember having this moment. We were talking about bringing Australian headquartered businesses to the UK and the tax benefits of that and all this kind of thing. And I just remember being like, I don't know if this is for me. And it was a pretty tough point because I had to be like, I need to like start over essentially. Like, this isn't the right vibe. I need to pivot. And so, of course, you have to change. I then went into the e-commerce business, and the e-commerce side of things, I really loved building the business, but I was spending a lot of time creating and designing new collections and things like that. And even though on the outside, the business looked really great, it took us to China, we moved to Bali for 6 months, Thailand, we went to Paris for Fashion Week. It was on hundreds of influencers. It was in Vogue. It was in all the places. But again, I just felt like it's not 100% right. Like, I don't want to be doing jewelry. I've picked the wrong product. And so again, you have to have that courage to be able to be like, you know what? I've gotten it to this point, but I'm actually just going to have to stop at this point and start again to figure out like moving closer to the thing that I did want to do. And so by starting Female Startup Club, I got to have just so much joy in my day-to-day life, interviewing entrepreneurs who happen to be women to understand how they're building their businesses, what mistakes they made along that e-commerce journey, all that kind of stuff, how they built their business, what their strategies were, their learnings, their insights. And so Female Startup Club brought me a lot of joy, and I started to feel like I'd come into a bit of a groove where even if you have a bad day, it was okay. Whereas there were many bad days before, if that makes sense. So I would say the journey has definitely had a lot of ups and downs, but now I've found this thing that brings me a lot of daily joy, and I really love the journey. And so, you get a rejection or something doesn't go as you planned, or it doesn't go through something that you're really hoping for. But that's okay. Like, that's like everything. And yeah, it's all very exciting.
Yeah. I mean, I love what you said with the pivoting, because a lot of the time that's where the adaptability comes in, and really paying attention to your intuition and not being afraid to start over again. When you build something, I mean, I've done it personally many times. I am into the space right now again, but it's just like embrace the journey, because entrepreneurship is just like that. You build something, you realize, oh, this is not making me happy and fulfilled. This is why we start this journey, this crazy journey, I would say many times. But,
Totally.
we have that mission and vision in our mind. And, every day it's taking those steps to get there. But I love that you said that, because I'm sure lots of entrepreneurs are into that. And a lot of people get discouraged and they frankly quit before they even get on the other side to really, grow themselves through it. I feel like it's the best personal development journey there is. Would you agree with that?
100. I would absolutely agree with that. And I think another thing that I didn't really touch on, but it's so key, is another reason of why I think the jewelry business like needed to stop was I didn't have the margins right. I didn't have the unit economics right. The money side of things just didn't make sense. And so I really also felt like stressed a lot of the time because it wasn't really working on that side either. And so having the courage to be able to be like, you know what, not only do I think I chose the wrong product for me and for my strength and skill set and where I want to take this, but it also wasn't making sense financially. So it was a big learning to kind of take. But one that when I look back, I'm like, I worked on that for a few years and there was a lot of relief when I stopped.
I guess that's how you know that it's time to change direction, and everything kind of heads towards that. But many people want to hang on, because I know that feeling personally. It's like, but I worked so hard to build it, but it doesn't work anymore. So you just have to learn to let go. And that's when the new opens up for the next opportunity that could be your next thing in the journey. So tell me a little bit about the female startup club. Um, tell me a little bit about that. That seems a very interesting concept.
It's been super, super fun. I kind of started there was a few moments that kind of happened for me. One was back at the end of 2019, I was reading Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss, and it's such an amazing book. It's huge. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. But he interviews a lot of high performers and athletes and billionaires. And he kind of gets this direct, no BS approach to building businesses, how they operate, what their habits are. And I was really inspired by that book, but sadly, there was only either 10 or 10% of the book featuring women, and the book is like this big. It's really, really big. And so I was like, I'd love to hear from more women, but with this same lens and this same approach to business and life. And so I started asking my girlfriends, what are you doing to build your businesses? What's working for you? What's not working for you? And I was getting these amazing answers and conversations. So we decided to start publishing them on the show. And I didn't think too much of it. It was, very casual. I think I'd posted like one a month or something like that for the first 4 months of 2020. And then when COVID hit, I decided to kind of lean into it and be like, well, everything's online now anyway, so I could just do these online and kind of scale it up. So I started working really hard on the show and gave myself a goal to do 100 episodes in the year, and basically interviewed so many brilliant women to understand how they were building their businesses, and it just started to kind of take off. And then next thing you know, it turned into this top 100 podcast for entrepreneurship. We had a community of really loyal entrepreneurs who happened to be women, tuning in, getting the insights, getting those tactical lessons and implementing it into their businesses, and then coming to me to be like, hey, I never thought of that. Thank you so much for what you're doing. I appreciate it so much. And then from there, basically, we realized we needed to figure out how to monetize the podcast, because it was costing us a lot in terms of, our editor, all the kind of things that come with creating a successful show, which I'm sure you have the same kind of things. And so we started looking into sponsorship, which we nailed. And then we basically, my husband has a performance marketing agency on the side of what he's doing. And so we decided to bring it all under Female Startup Club and build one entity instead of building two. And yeah, it's been this crazy journey. Now we have the private network, which is specifically kind of an all-in-one resource for women who are building e-commerce businesses. We have women featured on the show coming in there for modern mentorship. We have lots of resources for like the blueprints of building e-commerce businesses, like marketing plans, sales trackers, all the kind of documents that you might need, especially when you're getting started. And then what else do we have that I can tell you about? We have a book coming out in October. So many fun things that have kind of come from Female Startup Club, but definitely the highlight of it is just, the community and what's being kind of built for women who are in e-commerce. It's been really exciting to see.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems like a wealth of information. I'll definitely personally go check it out. That just bringing in and inspiring role models. I think women are definitely coming to come. Even when I was in executive leadership positions, there isn't many women leaders, and this definitely has to change. But I think we're making progress. But the fact that you've that platform where women can come in and share their story and support other women, I think that's amazing. Because it's just, the more we support each other, the more we create that energy in the universe, so the abundant universe. And that's the other mindset part that I think you definitely have to develop as a business owner and as an entrepreneur. That's really, really beautiful. Is there any last messages that you'd like to share with us as far as entrepreneurship, your experience, whatever you'd like to share with us that might benefit our audience?
Yeah, I think two things that I really live by, all the time is the power of, actually three, I'll give you three. One is the power of goal setting, really setting yourself strategic goals and then actively working towards them every single day. And that's kind of the segue into point two, which is you don't need to let yourself go, feel overwhelmed by thinking about just the goal. And you just need to think about what's the one thing that I can do right now that makes me a tiny step forward towards my goal. And if you operate on that just 1% extra every single day, that those small tiny steps will end up compounding, and then one day you'll look back and be like, whoa, crazy, I reached my goal. And the third, I would say, is the power of your network and the leveraging the people around you and your connections to ask you for help, to ask them for help, and basically making sure that you do network, that you do get out there, that you go to events, that you connect with people online, because your network is so powerful in helping you achieve those goals. And that goes back into the first point that I made.
I love that. Absolutely. It's like just do the next right thing. I mean, honestly, that's how you get to your goals. Having something to drive you, a vision, a way you want to go is definitely absolutely necessary. But it's just doing the next right step, because people do get overwhelmed. A lot of people don't even set big goals because they're like, oh, now I have to actually work towards achieving them. And then it just does more damage than actually achieve the goal. So, yeah, that's beautiful. June, thank you so much for everything that you've shared on our show today. I'm sure that our listeners are finding lots of value out of the conversation. And I want to ask you, if people want to reach out to you to find out more about your club or anything else that you do, where is it that they can find you?
Yeah. Well, firstly, thank you so much for having me. I really loved meeting you and getting to speak on your show and reach with your audience. If anyone wants to reach out, you can message me directly on Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn. They're all the same, which is at Doon Roisin, DOONEROISIN. Or you can go to femalestartupclub.com and pop your email in and receive our emails once a week, which has, a wealth of information around e-commerce entrepreneurs who happen to be women. And yeah, you can stay in the loop with us there too.
Well, thanks again for being here, and I will see you guys next week on another show. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.